House Amendment 3 by Representative Lamar. Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Lamar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment would allow us to use no excuse absentee voting just for the elections in 2020. Right now, we're in one of the most deadliest pandemics we've seen in modern history. No one should have to choose between their health and their vote. During the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone should have the right to vote by mail. Voting by mail is a common sense solution to protect our health, which is why many officials from both parties in a wide range of states, including Alabama, Indiana, New Hampshire, New York, and West Virginia, have expanded voting by mail to all states and all voters in their state. With this pandemic, we need to make sure, and we already have the capacity right now to do this because we do allow absentee voting, no excuse for those 60 and over already. All we are simply doing is during this pandemic only, and this amendment only applies to the upcoming elections, we are going to allow them to vote by mail. I've seen in the media there's many excuses of voter fraud, this and this and that. That's simply not true, guys. And I want to dispel that rumor right now. You can research any data. Voting by mail does not increase voter fraud. Our election commissioner in Shelby County had to say she's not seen any instances of voter fraud, and the only red flag she's seen is a husband trying to sign for his wife or something like that. This is not a partisan issue. This is simply a people issue. Right now, if you've looked at the news, and let me have your attention, please. You've seen in Wisconsin where they in fact held the in-person election, over 50 people determined by the Wisconsin Department of Health got the coronavirus from voting in person. That is a fact. Additionally, the state is already in multiple litigation cases right now because of our inability to expand no excuse absentee voting. And we've seen already in Texas that the federal judge ruled that in fact the fear of getting the coronavirus is reason enough to allow all citizens to vote by mail. Guys, this is common sense. In the mere months of asking us to stay at home, let's let voters exercise their constitutional right to stay at home and vote by the mail system we already in place. This is not trying to change it long term. This is just during the pandemic to keep people safe. And with that, that's an explanation of my amendment.
Representative Lamar moves adoption amendment number 3, properly second. Any discussion on the amendment? Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to the member proposing the amendment, I certainly respect you and I appreciate you proposing this amendment. I understand your fervor and passion for this issue. Unfortunately, I could not disagree with you more on the factual assertions that you made today. There is no factual assertion that I know of that 50 people got COVID-19 from voting. And here's the reason why that is. We're going to be talking about on this floor for probably the next couple of weeks different issues that businesses and universities and cities may want you to give them some sort of liability protection. We'll be discussing that. As part of that discussion, there will be discussion on how much people are moving around right now. If you haven't noticed, there are a large number of fervent Tennesseans and Americans that have been protesting in large numbers in extraordinarily close proximity to one another. And again, I applaud those peaceful protests, but they have been doing so during a pandemic. Now, by the way, if in 2 weeks our hospitals are not chock full of individuals that have caught COVID-19, then the information that we were given, that we have acted upon, you're surrounded by Lexan right now for our protection. Many of us are wearing masks on this floor for others' protection. If the hospitals aren't chock full, then obviously the numbers that we were given months ago were severely exaggerated. It's the best information they had at that time. It's a novel coronavirus. They'd never seen this before. But ladies and gentlemen, we have not seen in Tennessee, thank goodness, the type of numbers that they espoused that we would see. So because of that, our Secretary of State, even based on the information we had before, has worked with every single one of your local election commissioners and your election administrators to ensure that voting in person is as safe and, quite frankly, safer than we are right now standing on this floor, than any server in a restaurant that is open and working right now, than any retail employee that has been working at the Walmart the entire time during this pandemic, that your elections and our elections will be more safe and secure for my 93-year-old grandfather, who will not even vote early. He votes on Election Day in person every time and will be doing so again this year because he knows it is the safest, most secure way to vote. Now, that's his choice. I don't want to go to a mail-in ballot system that's 100% without excuse that we rush to the presses. That's the problem with trying to do it during a pandemic. Because, by the way, the predictions could very well prove true. That's why you have Lexington around you. That's why we've taken every precaution here on the floor. That's why our Secretary of State is also taking every single precaution. But no, our friends from the other side of the aisle would like to take this opportunity to stuff the ballots. They'd like to take this opportunity to steal elections. They'd like to take this opportunity to take advantage. Hold up. I didn't propose the amendment. Hold up. I would say the comments are almost proving my point at this moment. Hang on. If done properly, this takes years to properly implement in the states that have done it, unless you want someone to take advantage of the ballot box and stuff ballots in as they did hundreds of years ago. So if you stand for the integrity of our election system, then we want to table this amendment. If you stand for putting back election security 100 years for no reason whatsoever that matches medical science or fact, then you can vote in favor of this amendment. And ma'am, I know that wasn't your intention in bringing it, but there will be those that seek to take advantage of a system of mail-in balloting for no reason if we rush it to the presses. For those reasons and many, many more, I trust our ballot system the way it is set up right now. We can have a debate in the years to come on how to change that and how to encourage folks to take advantage of all the exceptions that are currently there. 60 and over, you're a caregiver, you have a CDL, and you're a truck driver and you're going to be out of state at the time. There are dozens of exceptions right now that you can take advantage of. So if you're outraged at my comments, join us in making sure that we have enough election workers. Join us in making sure that we have venues large enough that people can spread with each other. Join us in making sure that there's enough PPE for all of our election workers and for anyone coming in. Let's take those reasonable measures to secure our elections exactly as our Secretary of State and our local officials are doing. Let's not try to do something that can be taken advantage of. And by the way, I'd rather, even with the outrage that was shouted out a second ago, this not be a partisan issue. But unfortunately, my Republican colleagues, I hope, will stand with me to ensure the sanctity of my grandfather and everyone else's ballot. With that, I move to table this amendment.
Proper motion, properly second. The parliamentary situation is that Representative Lamar has moved amendment number 3. Representative Lamberth has moved that motion to the table. That cuts off all debate except for that of the sponsor. Representative Lamar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, first and foremost, let's not compare people protesting for the senseless killing of an innocent individual with voting. Let's not do that. Again, the Wisconsin Department of Health has reported that 50 people, and they suspect more, received the coronavirus. The Wisconsin Department of Health reported, and it was put out by Time and ABC News. 34 states in our country already have the mail-in voting process. It does not, and multiple data shows that it does not. Let me repeat, it does not. You can Google it on your phone right now. Literally Google it. It does not increase voter fraud. And as our leader graciously said, everything I'm just stating is, in fact, fact. Okay? We already have an absentee mail program that we're simply allowing all citizens to use only during 2020. We currently have $55 million to use for the election because we have HVAC funds, the CARES Act funds that were sent down specifically for us to expand safer opportunities for voters and during this pandemic. Now, if you want to risk your constituents dying of the coronavirus simply by trying to execute their constitutional right to vote, that's fine. Don't vote for it. But if you truly care about people, if you truly care about keeping your constituents safe, if you really care about this pandemic and the impact this had on the community, you will in fact not vote on what is being marketed as a partisan issue. You will simply put people first because the science and the data proves that if you in fact send people to the polls during this pandemic, you will risk killing them. And that will be reflected forever with your vote today. So when you vote today and we take that vote, you are telling your citizens you in fact don't care about their lives. You care more about false rhetoric that is going to disenfranchise people's constitutional right to vote. A lot of times we like to preach about Constitution this, Constitution that. Well, let's support the Constitution today and do that and let people be safe by exercising their right to vote. Again, everything he said is in fact false. It's a lie. It's not true. This is not a partisan issue, and because I'm a Democrat standing up here fighting for people's right doesn't mean I'm trying to push my particular party's issue. This doesn't favor one party over the other. This is about people. Let's bring it back to about people. You oftentimes ask us to see through party lines. Well, I'm asking you today to see through party lines and see people. So again, I'm asking you to support this amendment. It's going to allow us to expand a system we already have in place, a system that has $55 million in it, and this is shown that at max, if everybody were to take advantage of it, it will cost at most $17 million. And most of the money we got from the federal government because of coronavirus for elections. So again, I ask for your support today, and remember, this is about people, not partisanship. Thank you.
The parliamentary situation